Welcome to This Explainer. Let's just jump right in, because today we're exploring something literally mind-bending. We're diving into humanity's massive footprint as an actual geological force, and we're going to play out this wild thought experiment. What exactly happens to the Earth if that foot is just suddenly lifted? We'll break down the science of our planetary impact, and then hit fast forward through time to see exactly how the natural world would reclaim the ruins of our civilization.
All right, Section 1, the human epoch.
So, for the longest time, we've treated human history and geological history as two totally separate things, right? Mountains take millions of years to rise and fall, while human empires do it in a few centuries. But the science is telling us those two timelines have aggressively collided. Way back in 1938, a scientist named Vladimir Vernouchki actually described our collective scientific thought as a geological force. I mean, really think about that for a second. Our scientific and industrial progress has literally transformed humanity into a force of nature, packing the same planetary punch as an asteroid strike, a tectonic shift, or a sudden ice age.
Moving on to Section 2, defining our geologic footprint.
Now, if we are a geological force, how do we actually label ourselves on the official geologic timeline? Well, this question kicked off a massive, decades-long debate in the scientific community. The struggle to accurately measure our impact basically revolves around one word: the Anthropocene. Mashing up the ancient Greek words for human and new, it's this proposed time period where humanity officially became a planetary force, altering the climate, the oceans, even the very crust of the Earth. But the fierce debate, that was over exactly when this era actually began. Tracking the proposed start dates reveals just how fractured this debate was. You've got some experts pointing to 1592, marking a massive dip in atmospheric methane found in ice cores. Others said, no, it's 1712, with the first big use of the steam engine kicking off the Industrial Revolution. Then you have 1945, the first atomic bomb test spreading radioactive fallout worldwide. And then the leading proposal was the 1950s, thanks to a huge spike in plutonium from hydrogen bomb tests, which is perfectly preserved in the mud of Canada's Crawford Lake.
But ultimately, trying to pin a single start date on all of this proved way too difficult. In 2024, after nearly 15 years of arguing, geologists actually rejected making the Anthropocene a formal epoch. Why? Because our impact is just too scattered across time and space to fit into one neat little geological box. Instead, the scientific community now broadly classifies the Anthropocene as a massive, ongoing geological event. And an event is just as big a deal. Think of the Great Oxidation Event, which literally rewired the Earth's atmosphere.
The crucial point of this geological event, though, is its catastrophic scale. A massive study of 70,000 monitored species shows that this event is actively fueling a sixth mass extinction. Right now, a staggering 48% of those monitored species are in active decline because of human activity, like habitat destruction and pollution. Only 3% are increasing. That is the heavy, undeniable weight of our geological footprint.
Which brings us to Section 3, Day 1 of Population Zero.
To really wrap our heads around the scale of our footprint, we have to ask, what happens when humanity instantly vanishes? What happens to the planet when the engineers, the maintenance workers, the polluters simply disappear? We're going to dive into this fascinating thought experiment to see how fast the natural world would react. For the sake of this scenario, imagine that in a single second, all humans vanish. We leave behind all our cities, our tech, our pets. What does the Earth do next? Well, the immediate aftermath is just pure chaos. Within seconds, millions of empty cars are spinning out of control, causing fiery crashes on every highway on Earth. 10 minutes in, coal-fired power plants run out of fuel. Iconic bright spots like the Vegas casinos just go completely dark. Within 1 to 96 hours, without any human maintenance, our global infrastructure rapidly fails. Automated systems in nuclear power plants detect the grid failures and automatically shut down their reactors. Almost overnight, the civilized world is plunged into darkness.
Section 4, Earth reclaims the ruins.
In those first few weeks, we'd see a desperate, brutal rewiring of the animal kingdom. Without us opening bags of kibble, domestic pets start starving. Dogs and cats break out of houses to hunt in the streets, but it is survival of the fittest. Within a single week, larger dog packs form, and toy dog breeds, they just disappear from the Earth entirely. Centuries of human-guided breeding erased in days. Meanwhile, electric fences at the zoos fail. You'd have elephants migrating into the suburbs to prune trees and lions hunting deer in city streets. At the same time, mice and rats experience this massive population boom as they completely take over our abandoned supermarkets, just feasting on the rotten food. Fast forward 30 years, and the visual transformation of the planet is absolutely stunning. Up in space, devastated by solar winds and with no fuel to fix their orbits,
Artificial satellites start decaying, falling back into the atmosphere as fiery shooting stars. Down on Earth, the concrete jungle becomes a literal jungle. In New York, Central Park expands way beyond its borders, completely swallowing Times Square with mountain soil and plant growth. Roofs have caved in, and trees are growing straight up through what used to be our living rooms.
Even our greatest, most permanent-seeming monuments succumb incredibly fast to rust, freezing weather, and gravity. Just 3 days after we disappear, the clock tower of Big Ben simply stops ticking because there's nobody there to wind it. Jump to 230 years, and the Eiffel Tower, its upper half totally ravaged by rust and wind, snaps and collapses into a swampy river Seine. And after 1,000 years, the mighty Statue of Liberty has fallen to pieces, leaving only its concrete pedestal standing like a quiet tombstone.
Section 5. Our final million-year legacy. So, if our skyscrapers crumble into dust, our monuments rust away, and wildlife so easily reclaim our cities, what is the true, permanent footprint of humanity? Contrasting what fades with what endures tells us something crazy about the artificial materials we've made. The things we think are massive and permanent, skyscrapers, irrigated farm fields, specific animal breeds, they disappear in a blink in geologic time. But the things that last for eons? Synthetic plastics. The trash and rovers we left on the moon, where there's no wind or rain to erode them, and a distinct layer of sediment packed with radioactive plutonium, heavy metals, and microplastics that geologists millions of years from now are going to find in the Earth's crust.
Let's look 25,000 years into the future. By this point, Earth naturally enters a new ice age. Glaciers push southward, completely grinding away whatever final rubble is left of New York City. Almost every physical structure we ever built has been pulverized. But even under thousands of feet of ice, our specific signatures will stubbornly persist. Our plastic polymers refuse to break down, and our lunar exploration evidence remains perfectly intact in the vacuum of space.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer. And I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. If our longest-lasting legacy, the absolute only things that survive us by millions of years, is synthetic plastic buried in rock and lunar trash sitting on a dead moon, what does that really say about the Anthropocene? We became a geological force, a power rivaling nature itself. But maybe the true mark of our time on Earth isn't the mighty monuments we built, but the invisible chemicals and artificial debris we left behind. Definitely something to chew on the next time you hold a plastic bottle or gaze up at the moon. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into humanity's lasting legacy, and keep exploring.